Happy 250th anniversary of our country's founding. I don't think I've ever done this before, but I read the Declaration of Independence just a little while ago, and I thought it might be good for me just to read it, at least portions of it. Some of you have not read it all the way through. I'm not going to read the 27 grievances, but I'm going to read the first part and the last part. And I want to remind us of why our country has lasted this long. So the Declaration of Independence starts like this. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitles them. By the way, there's four references to God in the Declaration of Independence. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Two observations. Number one, this is the only and the first government that I know of, please correct me if I'm wrong, that says that our rights come from our Creator, our God. And if God gives us those rights, they cannot be taken away by man. Unfortunately, many governments and most governments say that the government gives you the rights. And if those rights are given by man, they can be taken away by man. And also, that last phrase says, deriving their just powers, the government derives their power from the consent of the governed. Christians, especially, have given up too much consent by being apathetic, by not being involved. We must vote. We must elect godly representatives. We are a constitutional republic. We are not a pure democracy. Let's continue on. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of governments. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. And then they list 27 grievances. And at the end of those 27 grievances, they continue. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. And let me remind you, it was Christian separatists who were fleeing European persecution by governments who did not allow them to practice their religion freely. And they reminded Britain in this declaration of why they came here. If you read the Mayflower Compact in 1620, you'll be reminded of why they came. The Christians came to establish a land led by Christians and Christian principles. Continuing on, we have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of injustice and consanguinity. I'm sorry, they too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. You can learn some good words by reading the Declaration of Independence. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world, another reference to God, for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliance, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states may have right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence. There it is, the fourth reference to God in this Declaration of Independence. We mutually, all 56 signers, pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Let me tell you that they laid their lives on the line and they paid a price for it. 9 signers died with wounds or hardships during the Revolutionary War. Several others were captured and held as prisoners of war, including Richard Stockton and Arthur Middleton. Many experienced financial ruin. About a third had their properties plundered or destroyed by the British, and several died in poverty. For example, Carter Braxton lost his shipping fleet, dying in rags, while Francis Lewis had his property destroyed and his wife jailed. Many continued to hold high office, shaping the new nation as governors, judges, and members of Congress. Interesting fact, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams passed away on the exact same day, hours apart, July 4th, 1826, while Charles Carroll of Carrollton in Maryland outlived all others, dying in 1832 at age 95. I like what Charlie Kirk said. He said the most important thing is to preach the gospel, and the second most important thing is the freedom to do the most important thing. Let's not be apathetic. Let's be involved in shaping our government. Let's take back our country and restore the foundations that were laid. God bless you, and happy July 4th.